Today's 22 Minutes is sponsored by Les Miserables on Broadway. Tickets available at telecharge.com. And we are delighted today to spend 22 minutes with actor, director, author Henry Winkler.
Hi.
Great to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
To talk about the new, it's not a new series, but it's a second series of books for you.
It's newish. We're going to write 12.
Okay.
We've written 10, and this is the 7th to come out. So this is brand new on the shelf, and it's called You Can't Drink a Meatball Through a Straw.
Makes sense.
It does. It does. And we have written 18 Hank Zipzer, the world's greatest underachiever. Now, he is in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade.
Right.
And then my partner, Lynn Oliver, thought, you know what, let's write him when he's just beginning school.
Like a prequel, kind
of. A prequel.
Right.
And so now we have, here's Hank, and he's in the 2nd grade before he is diagnosed. So he doesn't quite get why he doesn't get it.
He has dyslexia.
A learning challenge,
yeah.
Yes.
Is it specifically dyslexia?
It is,
yeah.
it is, it is. Now, we figure that every child has a challenge. Too tall, too short, doesn't like their body, acne, is not good at sports. Whatever it is, every child has some sort of challenge.
Right.
And they find themselves here in Hank.
Right.
Kids say, I laughed so hard my funny bone fell out of my body. And then they say, how did you know me so well?
Right. And teachers love these books, too.
We're very grateful. Parents say, you know, I was walking by my child's bedroom. I heard them laughing, opened the door, and they are laughing reading a book.
Right.
So we're very proud of that.
Well, I was telling you before we started the interview that my son read it, and he stopped it a few, he's like, hey, Mom, this is funny. I'm like, well, you know who wrote it? You know, Henry Winkler.
Hello.
Yeah.
And he went, who?
They know.
No, but so many parents, they try to make a joke with me, and they always say, I tried to tell my son that you were the Fonz, and my kid went, who? And then I have to remind them about the water boy, you know.
A lot of different things.
Click.
You mentioned Lynn Oliver. Now, how do you two work together? How do you collaborate? Are you the ideas guy and she puts it into words, or you put it into words and you make the jokes?
We are the ideas couple. We really are. We have written every novel in her office. She sits at the typewriter, at the computer.
Right.
And I talk. She types. Now she's got an idea. She types. I wait. Then we argue over every word. Then she gets up and goes to the refrigerator in her office and says, I drove her to drink, and she gets a Snapple. But we have done that now for the 32 novels we've written together.
Right.
Yeah.
And those, the Hank Zipzer, that was turned into a series for the BBC, and
yes,
you played...
we couldn't sell it in America.
Okay.
They said, you know, we love Hank. He is so funny. Could you make him a little less dyslexic?
Oh, really?
And we went, no, that's the point. But the BBC bought it. It's a live action show. And this last season, I'm very proud to say, we were number 2 or number 3 of all children's shows on the BBC.
And you played Mr. Rock?
I do.
On the show?
Real teacher. Mr. Rock said to me in the 11th grade, Winkler, if you ever do get out of here, you're going to be okay. But I went to a private boys' school, McBurney School for Boys. It doesn't exist anymore. Right. It's my history is gone. But he was the one. And I held on to that one sentence that he said, like Leo DiCaprio held on to that piece of wood when he fell off the boat. It was in my heart. I'm not kidding. It kept me going until like yesterday.
Right. Let's talk a little bit. You grew up New York City, Upper West Side.
78th and Broadway.
Right, right.
That's where Hank lives, in my apartment. Yeah. I went to PS 87, now a magnet school. And I got to go there and read to the kids.
Oh. That must have been
That was my neighborhood.
That must have been great.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Now, I was reading about your family background. Your parents left from...
Very short.
But they left Berlin, Germany,
yes.
right before the Holocaust.
39.
interesting story about how they got out. With the
Right.
jewelry?
Yes, my father spoke 11 languages. I had trouble with English. He would say to me in 11 languages every day, "Why do you think I bought the business over here?" Because he wanted me to take over buying and selling wood.
Lumber
I
business.
said, "Why do I think that you brought you mean besides being chased by the Nazis, Dad? Was there a bigger reason than that?" And I wanted to be an actor since I was 7.
Is it true that you played a tube of toothpaste in grade school, or is that just a
nursery.
scurrilous rumor? In nursery?
Nursery.
So that part, you knew.
I took the top off, squoze my tummy, and then I think Vivian was the toothbrush.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you knew. You knew that you wanted to do
but
that.
I mean, I really knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to get there. So what I have learned in my life is that tenacity and gratitude are the two foundations of a life. And they will get you where you need to be. The tenacity will get you to your destination, and gratitude will not allow you to be angry along the journey.
And you were not angry at your parents.
I was angry until about today.
Until...
I have to say, they were... Now, did I respect them? Did they come to another country? Did they give me an education, a good life? Yes. Did they see me as a human being? No.
They were very, very tough on you because you had trouble learning because of the
Yes.
dyslexia, which was undiagnosed until you were 30?
Until my stepson was tested when he was in the 3rd grade. And then I knew. And then I knew. But I made a decision that I would be a different parent. I made a decision that my children could say anything that was on their mind. I would catch my parents coming flying out of my mouth. I would say something in exactly the way that they said it to me that I hated. And I would say to them, even at 5, I would, "Excuse me, that's not what I meant to say. I'm going to back up. This is how I meant to say it."
Right. And so your son dealing with the dyslexia helped you understand all 3 children.
All 3 kids. Yes. Well, we would say to him, to my son Jed, my oldest, who is now 45, and I would say to him, you know, "You're so smart, you're so sophisticated in your humor, you're so verbal. Go back and do it again." And he couldn't, so we had him tested. And everything that they said about him was true about me. And my daughter is dyslexic. She went to college. We got the grades, and there was only 1 grade when they sent us her transcript. We called up and we said, "Excuse me, there's only 1 grade?" They said, "Yes, your daughter dropped out of all other 4 of her courses." And then I finally looked at her and I said, "If you need to drop out of college, so be it." She's an unbelievable teacher.
A teacher.
Our youngest listened to the radio. I said to him, "You can't listen to the radio." And then I finally realized, shut up, Henry. The grades are coming home. Maybe he uses the radio as a tunnel, and he goes through the tunnel and he's able to concentrate, and the radio keeps everything out. It turned me upside down when I saw how my kids learned. Am I talking too much?
No, that's why you're here. But you mentioned college. So you wound up at Emerson and then at Yale. And for a guy who struggled in school, how do you get into Yale, into the graduate program? You killed your audition.
No,
Was
I
that
killed
it?
my audition. Or they saw something, or whatever. I don't know how I got into Yale.
Was it a Shakespearean monologue?
I had to do a Shakespearean monologue, but because I am not good at Shakespeare, and because reading was so and is so difficult for me, I memorize it as fast as I can, as much as I can. I panicked a little bit, and I ad-libbed Shakespeare. I made it up. And they still took me.
Maybe that was why.
Yeah, so
if
then
this guy can ad-lib Shakespeare,
I'm not kidding.
we have to let him pass. And then in your early career,
Yes.
you did a lot of TV commercials,
I
sort
did
of
a
to
lot of
fund
commercials.
your stage work? Was that
Yes, I
sort of the way it
did.
worked?
Here in New York, I did commercials,
Right.
but then I did Manhattan Theater Club was not a ritzy Broadway theater as it is now. It was a small building on the East Side where I did plays for free by Bertolt Gombrowski. I didn't understand what the hell we were talking about, but I did those plays.
Right.
And I kept my craft going.
So what was the big break? Was it Lords of Flatbush?
Lords of Flatbush.
Butchie, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
played Butchie alongside Sly Stallone. I made $2,000 for 12 months' work.
$2,000.
I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I took $1,000 that I made from commercials, and the day after we finished filming The Lords of Flatbush, I flew to California. 2 weeks later, I auditioned at Paramount Studios, and on my birthday, when the money ran out, when I had to come back to New York, they said, would you play this character?
That character?
And I got to play the Fonz for 10 years.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite cartoons is an interviewer sitting next to a bowling ball. And the bowling ball says, but I'm not here to talk about bowling. And so many actors you talk to, they say, oh, I don't want to talk about that role. That was years ago.
Right.
But I remember hearing you and seeing you in interviews, and you say, I love the Fonz.
Yes, it is
I
true.
love the Fonz. And that is so nice. That is so refreshing.
But
And so,
look what
because we
he-
love the Fonz.
Look what he did for me. He introduced me to the world. He put a roof over my head. I sent my children to school. I had put food on the table. And he was so much to play. He was so much fun.
Different than you.
Oh, very different from me. I am not cool. He was not cool. I finally defined cool. And being cool is being authentic.
Right.
That's it. It's not being any way. It is being true to yourself. If you are that, you are powerful.
I have to ask you about some Fonzie myths.
Go ahead.
Okay. Motorcycle.
Yes.
You and the motorcycle were not friends in real life.
The first motorcycle was so big. Remember, I'm a very short person like my parents. So it kept tipping. So they got me, I went from a knucklehead, I believe it was called, to a Triumph.
Okay.
Okay, same Triumph that Steve McQueen used to jump the fence in The Great Escape.
Great
I
Escape.
thought it was the coolest thing
Wow.
ever.
And the not coolest thing was initially they made you wear a green windbreaker because they thought you would look like a thug if you wore the leather?
That is true. ABC thought that I would be a criminal or associated with crime if I wore leather. Then Gary Marshall went to ABC and said, look, you know, when he's riding his motorcycle, he needs to be safe. He's got to wear leather. They said, okay, you can wear leather only when you're in a scene with your motorcycle. There were no cell phones at that time. He called from a payphone at a gas station between ABC and Paramount on opposite ends of the city, said to the writer's room, never write another scene without his motorcycle.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
And then in 1980, my wife and I went, with the very short Germans, went to the Smithsonian and delivered the jacket for the permanent collection.
Oh, that's great.
Dumme Hund, which means dumb dog. My parents had a lovely phrase for me.
Terrible.
They was delivering his jacket to America's Museum.
Amazing. And when, not just the motorcycle scenes, but when they had more Fonzie, it seems like I was watching some of the shows again over the weekend, and it seems like when it started out, it was more about Richie.
I had 6 lines.
Okay, so it was Richie's show
Right, that's
initially,
right.
but
That's
then
right.
when they had more Fonzie lines, ratings went up, right?
The Fonz was a very popular character. I got 55,000 letters a week.
Oh my God.
I got gifts. I got a medal cutting from a fan in 1976 that said, if you will it, it is not a dream. And I had no idea how important that phrase would be to me, and it is the mantra of my life, because I now know it's the way the world turns. If you will it, it is not a dream.
How did you come up with some of the famous things? I mean, I have to tell you, around the radio station today, anybody I bumped into was like, hey, you know.
Right. Okay, so the thumb, I think, was written in.
That was.
So, that's very cool. Then you turn your thumb down, and I'm not so happy with that. The only thing that the Fonz added was the thumb in the middle. Metza, metza, right? Whoa came from my favorite sport at the time, which was horseback riding. So I made a career for 10 years of going, and or, whoa.
How about the snapping with the chicks thing?
All right, the snapping, that kind of evolved. That came, and the hitting of the jukebox. Anybody, I'm now turning to the wonderful audience that's here this afternoon. Anybody can turn a jukebox on with your fist if you have a man named Bob backstage plugging it in. Get a Bob, you can do it for your friends.
Oh, I wish we had been able to get a jukebox here. Now, how about the dancing? The classic dance scene. Was that you dancing?
That was me dancing. Now, are you talking about the Kazatsky?
Yeah.
Okay. So, at our temple here in New York City that my parents helped found, there was a big dinner dance every year. And I, in 6th grade, was taken to see the Musayev folk ballet from Russia. The Cossacks doing their dancing, they're kicking their knees out and their legs out and they're jumping in the air. I was so moved, I taught myself a bastardization of that in my bedroom, and I would do it. And I did it on the show.
The Fonzie dance. Now, so the series went for about 10 years.
10 years.
And then...
255 episodes.
Wow. Including the infamous shark episode. Now, I've read that you're actually...
Infamous only to John Haim, who came up with the phrase. But to us, we went on to be #1 for the next 4 or 5 years.
You mean John Hamm from the Howard Stern show?
Yes,
And he was the original Jump the Shark?
In his dorm room at Michigan when he and his friend came up with it.
Oh, I didn't know he was the original.
So it never really affected us.
Yeah.
And not only that, but when they would say jump the shark, like in the newspaper, they always showed a picture of me water skiing.
Right.
And at that time, I had great legs. So I never really cared.
And you were that was you water skiing.
My father
Not jumping the
said
shark,
to me
but...
a million times, I was a water ski instructor in summer camp when I was a counselor, which I loved that job, being a counselor. And my father would say, tell them you water ski. No, Dan, I think it's all right. Tell them you water ski. Tell them you water ski. So I finally said to Gary Marshall, my father wants you to know I water ski. And he went, that's very nice. You talk about that short guy? I said, yes. And then they wrote the episode.
That's crazy. Now, at that point in the series, did you feel like it's starting to end? I know that didn't they offer you like Fonzie's Happy Days to kind of keep things going? Or did you feel like it was time for the show to come to a natural
end? That was in the 4th year, I think, or the 5th year.
Oh, that came sooner.
Yeah, it came much sooner. Yeah. And Fred Silverman was the president of ABC at that time, a very important television executive. Sure. He moved, I think he ran all 3 networks, one of the only men in history to do that. Fred Silverman came and he said, look, you're so popular, we'd like to call it Fonzie's Happy Days. And I said, that would be such an insult to the people that I have just been working with for all these years that made the show popular.
Sure. Yeah.
If I do my own show, it'll be a half an hour of going, hey. It's so much better that I live with this family. Don't fix it if it's not broken. I cannot do it. Yeah. And I refuse to do it. Yeah. And I asked them not to change the name.
And family, and you stayed in touch, right?
We are still in touch.
Over the years.
We are still in touch.
Yeah.
Ron said, you can be our children's godparents. You can take them all. If God forbid anything happens to us, you can bar mitzvah them if you want. Don and Anson, who played Ralph and Potsy,
Sure.
talk to them all the time. Marion Ross, one of my favorite women outside of my family on the planet.
And the late Tom Bosley was a great mentor.
Great.
to
I
you.
saw him on Broadway before I ever got to the soundstage in California.
Right.
You know, he was a major Broadway star. He won the Tony, I think, for Fiorello. A wonderful musical to this day.
So then, post Happy Days,
Yes.
you seem to have made the decision to produce and direct. You did,
No.
or how did that work?
I wanted to continue acting. I had psychic pain, honest to God, because I had nothing to replace the dream that I had worked toward, that I now lived and finished. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I sat in my office at Paramount, and I was smart enough to realize if you don't know what you want to do, don't do anything. Eventually, it will percolate up. It will come to you. I couldn't get a job as an actor because they said, "Oh, we love him," but he was the Fonz.
So you worked,
Pigeonholed,
right?
typecast.
Right.
Then I produced. And kicking and screaming because I am dyslexic, remember, and I thought I couldn't do this job. But we did MacGyver, we did Sightings, we did So Weird on the Disney Channel.
Yeah.
I have now produced a job I thought I couldn't do. If you put all the episodes together, I have produced 19 years of television series on the air.
Wow. Wow.
I'm still shocked.
And you still do. You mentioned The Water Boy before, so you still act in movies
Yes.
and so many TV shows. A lot of people know you from Arrested Development.
Yes.
They know you from Parks and Rec too,
Parks
right?
and Rec,
Yeah.
from The New Girl, I was just on in September, Royal Pains,
Right.
Children's Hospital, which is a niche television show, Friday nights, 11 o'clock on the Adult Swim.
Okay.
Now, you cannot tell anybody that I work with at Children's Hospital, but I've been there for 7 years.
7 years.
I do not understand the jokes. I play the administrator of the hospital that is like somewhere in Brazil. We don't speak Portuguese. The head surgeon wears clown makeup.
Do you have a new project, HBO,
Yes.
with Bill Hader?
Well, we're going to shoot that in April.
Okay.
I went in and auditioned for Bill. Bill Hader, you know from Saturday Night
Sure.
Live, one of the head writers, also one of the funniest men, Trainwreck, Skeleton Twins. I'm now sitting in those chairs that I sat in waiting to be called to go in and audition. I go in because if that's what you have to do
Still
to get a
have to.
job, you got to do
Sure.
it. I made him laugh. I'm going to be his acting teacher in his new pilot.
Oh, so it's about a group of actors in
It
LA?
is about
that the,
a hitman
Okay.
who decides he wants to be an actor. And I'm the acting teacher. Amazing. Then this summer, I did a travel show for NBC. William Shatner, George Foreman,
Right.
the heavyweight champion. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowl rings, the head of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Is this sort of like an Amazing Race kind of
No,
adventure, or what
it
kind of adventure is it?
4 men of age go to a culture we don't understand and don't know. We discover it, each other, and ourselves. We went to 6 cities all through Asia, 36 days of 5 cameras, and it will be on this summer, I think, after the Olympics.
Oh, great.
Better Late Than Never, it's called. Better Late Than Never. Yeah.
And back to the books. You are touring.
All over
And
the country.
is this what your varied, long career, is this what you're most proud of?
Absolutely. Outside of my family, outside of my children and our dogs, our grandchildren, I am the proudest of these books, that they exist And each one, every time we finish a book, I say to Lynn, look at this, we did it. These pages were blank when we started. And now there's a story. We just wrote our first short story for Boys Life, a magazine I used to get, and I couldn't read it, so I would just look at the pictures, but I got a subscription, and now I've written a short story for that magazine. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
It's an amazing accomplishment. Before I let you go, we like to ask people, I got to spend 22 minutes with you. Is there somebody that you would want to spend 22 minutes with?
Hamilton. Anybody who's listening, anybody in this room, I want to say to you, by hook or by crook, get a ticket for the musical Hamilton. Now, I know that Les Miserables, you are brought to you by Les Miserables, a wonderful musical, wonderful music. Hamilton might be the greatest theatrical experience of my entire going to the theater since I was 10. And not only that, you can't oversell it. You think, oh yeah, I've had so much hype, I'm sitting down, I'm going to wait for the musical to start. I've heard how great it can't be as great as I heard. It is better than you imagine. I'd like to meet Hamilton. I'd also like to know what the hell is going on in Putin's mind. I'd like to meet Putin.
22 minutes with Vladimir Putin.
Hello? Really? The guy is my sugar.
Maybe he thinks he's the Fonz, riding shirtless on the horse.
The Fonz would not ride a horse shirtless. It would be like a tight-fitting T-shirt, and give me that steed.
That's all he would need. Henry Winkler, thank you so much.
I love being here.
Love having you.
Thank you.